Thanks for joining us for New Mexico in Focus. This week, the national spotlight was on Albuquerque as some people committed violent acts in the streets during and after Donald Trump's rally. In a few minutes, I'll be joined by a reporter and two local community leaders for a reflection on what the protests mean for New Mexico. The New Mexico in Focus team spoke with Trump supporters who lined up to see the presumptive Republican nominee this week, and we stopped by the recent rallies for Democratic presidential candidates. Our team spoke with people who came out to see Bernie Sanders a week ago and voters who came out to hear former President Bill Clinton stumper his wife Hillary Clinton earlier this week in Albuquerque. Let's hear what voters had to say about candidates on both sides of the 2016 presidential race.
Why'd you come out today?
I came out today to support Hillary Clinton for president. I think that her campaign is the most positive, she's the most knowledgeable, the best qualified candidate.
I came out to bring my children to learn about the democratic process.
I wanted to come because I thought it'd be nice to meet him. I wanted to learn more things about New Mexico and why people are running for presidency.
I've been to all the rallies so far, so I just wanted to see what everybody has to say for myself, without the media bias or anything like that.
I love what Hillary stands for.
And what exactly?
She stands for everything that I believe in, and choice is a big part of what I believe in. It's very frightening what's happening in so many states. Fortunately, New Mexico is very much a pro-choice state, and I'm happy that Hillary stands for choice.
Women are still behind men in their salaries, so I think that that'll be great. She's definitely more in favor of immigration reform and looking in the right direction, and that will help many New Mexicans as well.
What always resonates with me is environmental issues. I work in an environmental field, and that's very important to me. Also social issues, just having equality for all races, all sexes.
Well, I hope to get to talk to Bill Clinton. But then I hope he passes the word to his wife. Where does she stand for the Native American? Because we've forgotten people.
Are you a Hillary supporter?
I'm a Bernie supporter, but I will support any Democratic candidate who makes it to the finish line.
It really upsets me actually when people are a very strong supporter of one and hate the other. I think we all need to respect both parties. You can definitely both candidates, you can definitely focus on one and like them better, but I mean, it's still always about the party, and I think they both would also say that as candidates that, they won, everyone being supported.
I just love Bernie. America needs difference, and that's what Bernie is. I really just feel like he has a new, fresh outlook and perspective on, switching things up, because I feel like in order to make progress, we need to look at the past and change it. We need to do something different.
I want to know whether he can actually deliver on some of the things that he wants. I'm a little concerned that what he wants, unless we control both the House and the Senate, is not realistic, and whether he is open to incremental change.
I hope he would make a school better, and for our communities as Native people, I hope that he would build a more a great education for our next future, for our next kid. I heard about that he's doing $15 because he's gonna minimum wage or something like that. So I heard that's gonna be a really good idea if you work a full-time job, and he's raising money for everyone. So that's gonna be good if he becomes president.
Myself personally, I'm a college student. So I know it might be a time and place kind of issue, but I think an education is very important, and everybody should have the opportunity to an education. So I hope he addresses the issue of college debt and reducing at least college loan prices. I know he'd like to get it for free. That would be wonderful.
I'm not so sure I believe in a free ride. I think if you're going to if you're going to pay for college, then people need to give public service. And I'm not sure how that really gets funded without huge tax change, that unless we control both the House and the Senate, that's never going to pass. So I need to hear, so what's the backup plan?
Other important issues that I would like to hear him talk about are the environment. Here in New Mexico, we have a serious dependency on coal, just like much of the rest of the country. And it's important that we make that transition to alternative energies so we can go ahead and secure our environment and sustain our resources for future generations to come.
If Bernie doesn't get the nomination, will you vote in the election this year?
I don't want to, but I think it's important that you should vote. And I haven't always thought that way. I mean, your vote counts. Everybody's vote counts, I think, yeah.
I'm here to fight with him till the end, so I hope he stays until the end.
Be very disappointed. And then it'll be back to choosing between evils or candidates that I'm not fond of rather than a candidate I can believe in. And I'd like to actually have a candidate that I believe in again.
Trump 2016, folks. What time did y'all get here? 7. 4, son up.
We Americans now have a choice. Trump is the answer, my friend.
Trump is the man. Awesome. He's firing up our party and he's giving us some rejuvenation that we haven't had for a long time.
We just need someone who's a leader, who's going to be a hero, who's not bought, who's not paid for.
I've just been really supporting his campaign the whole way, even when a lot of other people thought that he was just in it for the show and wasn't in it for the long run and didn't think he could win.
I've never voted for any political thing, and there's the first time that I'm gonna vote.
Even though I don't support Donald Trump, I thought it would be really interesting. It's a spectacle, and I think that it's important, even if you don't support a candidate, to go to their rallies and just see what they're talking about.
I actually was a Hillary Texas delegate
in Texas
in 2008. And so it's really disheartening to see my party has veered really far left, because I come from old school Democrats that hold the value on fiscal policy. You don't spend what we don't have in taxation.
I live on the Navajo Nation, of course, first and foremost. There's a lot of issues that we do face out there right now, and with these stringent EPA regulations and coming from the Navajo Nation, it places a lot of difficulties on the Navajo Nation's budget overall. And I think we need a president in there who will help kind of bring down a lot of these EPA regulations and help local communities to help support themselves and help sustain themselves.
I like his views on the military, particularly the Veterans Administration, how we need to take care of our vets, because I went to a military school, my entire family's military.
Border security, I'm concerned with a lot of illegal immigration and possibly ISIS or somebody worse than them arising and coming across the border, attack the U.S.
We have Air Force bases here in New Mexico. We have Los Alamos Lab. We have Sandia Lab. That's part of the national defense, and so we need to have that be strengthened.
I love the fact that he's self-funding. I love the fact that he wants to build a wall. I love the fact that he wants to put a nice door in that wall. I like the fact that he wants to vet the people that are coming into the United States.
I think he's good for women because he cares about the whole country. He's going to take care of us and we'll take care of our families.
The national media, bless their heart, like to say that Hispanics don't support. Oh, all these big... Take a look at the line of hundreds and thousands.
Most of us are Hispanics, right?
We're Hispanics.
Yeah.
Him not being a politician is really a help because he may be able to get things done, unlike the politicians who have literally not been able to get things done.
I think there's a lot that needs to be smoothed out between the Republicans and Trump. He's made a few waves along the way, but I think if they work together, they can probably smooth it out.
Despite some of the ways that he says things, I know in his heart what he means and what he's representing.